Welcome back, everybody, to our wisdom sharing around the coronavirus and what our world is going through right now. It is so important that we all come together, as we shared in the last video, and freely share of our skill sets, because it's about community and individual and community care. Really caring for each other and passing on useful information that uplifts and feeds us all in a different way. I know that as I sit in the morning on my veranda, my mountain ashram, or where I live on a mountain, it seems so perfect. The sun is shining. There's no bushfires at the moment, there's no flooding or torrential rain, and it just feels beautiful, very peaceful. But I know that that peace is something I am carrying deep within myself as well. Then I can switch on the news and it's like, wow, it seems so surreal. The point is, it is what it is. So, what about our power? What power do we have independent of people's sharing of conspiracy theories or the blame game or any of that? We don't do that here. We just want to share insightful, uplifting information that can help people adjust through this time. So let's go into this. Our expertise, our skill set. Many of you know that we've been deep in social experimentation with individuals and groups in deep self-imposed isolation for nearly 2 decades. We want to share a little bit about our research, our parameters, our findings, and how they can help people now in this time of lockdown. Many countries are at various stages with this, but let's share some stories and some insights we have gained from our hard research. Firstly, our isolation has been a little different and much more extreme than what the world is going through now. For example, our people have been coming into a central space in what I call our darkroom laboratory. They have surrendered their mobiles, so no internet. Imagine that. No internet. They have let go of all physical food, so no need for shopping, no need for supermarkets. Doesn't matter if there's no food in a supermarket, as they've opened to be fed in a different way. And we've tracked the health benefits of this as well. They have also willingly gone into periods of deep silence and mindfulness and meditation, and more, and absolute respect and awareness of the impact of each individual on the community field. So the last thing, which is so extreme, is no light, no physical vision, no physical light at all. So this is not what's happening in our world, but there is so much that we have learned from nearly 2 decades of dealing with thousands of people, because our social experimentation has involved thousands of people from over 30 different countries, from all walks of life and all different spiritual traditions. So here we want to start giving tips. Okay. Our experimentation has always been about, can we come into a state quickly of unity consciousness and harmony? And that's really a global game right now. Can we, despite everything that's going on, can we now operate in a way that harmonizes our world and brings us into that one heart, one mind, really energy supporting each other state? And that's what we've been experimenting with. And the answer is yes. We've found that we can take all these people and harmonize them very quickly into deep levels of respect and unity. For some groups, within a few days. For some groups, a bit longer. So, but let's go back to you here now on Earth. You have light, physical light. You have internet, wonderful. You still have access to a lot of fresh food in many countries, but not so much preserved food or things you would stock your pantries with because people have been panic buying, for example. All right, now, number one, what we found. The mastery of your mind. For example, a story. A few years ago, we had entering into our darkroom space a young man who had been a long-term meditator. And after day 3, we were just checking in with people and we always get the biofeedback. How are people going? What issues are arising for them? What are their challenges? Because remember, we're an extreme individual and also group isolation. We're like yogis in a cave, withdrawing from the world. So we had this young man, and on day 3, he admitted very lovingly, but with a bit of frustration, I'm so bored. I'm so bored. I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm in a jail. I've got no light. I've got no mobile phone. You're not giving us food. I've got some water to drink and some juice, but I'm in a confined space, and it's like, I must admit, this is really challenging for me. So we said to him, and this is an extreme answer, but we want to introduce something to you here and the end result. I said to him, okay, well, take a moment, close your eyes, and do this experiment with me. Go and visit your wife. He went, what? I said, I know you're in lockdown. Not the term we use, but it is a common term now in the world. And I know you're feeling isolated and I know you're bored, but I want to demonstrate something to you. I said, take a few deep breaths and feel the love you have for your family, for your wife, because love becomes a bridge that transcends time and space. I said, I am going to visit my husband now in Australia. Go visit your wife. I closed my eyes. I just felt all the love I have for my family and my husband. And I was able to follow in my mind this feeling of love. And I could just sense my husband. I could sense that he was asleep. He was fine. He was just snoozing. So I withdrew my energy, came back to the group, and I said, okay, what was your wife doing? What did you sense intuitively? And he went, And I said, well, my husband was asleep, and it's a bit boring. There's nothing to report. It was an example that he had to flip here, and that's what we were saying to him. We are vast multidimensional beings. We are only as confined as we believe ourselves to be. And it was an example that made him flip. I said, you are entering into a field of freedom and exploration and learning the right use of mental energy. If you keep saying this is boring, if you keep saying I'm isolated, if you keep saying I don't have this and I don't have that and all this blah, 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 complain, then you will notice your energy, your emotional energy going boom, 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 because your perception will trigger your emotional state. And many of you who have already been in lockdown, you're experiencing this already. So how you choose to interpret what is going on in the world, how you choose now to interpret your specific situation in life, you will notice that if you run in fear, if you run in judgment, if you run in the blame game, there is pretty well soon a dropping of your emotional state to trigger fear and sorrow and frustration and boredom and all of that. So the mind mastery is so crucial at this time, as is what you are choosing to feed your mind with. One of the things with mind mastery and being in isolation, as I am every year, I'm in that environment for between 27 days and nights to 36 days and nights, self-imposed lockdown, yogi in a cave isolation. So one of the things that I have watched with these thousands of people in our social experiment over these years is the first opportunity you have, and we invite them to do, is honest self-assessment. This means introspection, retrospection, and self-assessment as to the creation called your life. When you're busy, doing, surviving, taking care of family, doing the money game, all the things that we get caught up being busy in life, when all of that goes away and we now have the most precious opportunity of honest self-assessment. And this is one of the first things we do in Darkroom. Use mental energy wisely. Step back and honestly say, am I happy with the creation called my life? Up to now, can I honestly say I'm happy? So we had two stories. We had a businessman, very rich, because I get a lot of interesting people who are also meditators and very spiritual. And he came into Darkroom and he did this wise use of mental energy and real honest assessment, just you with you. You're not talking about it to anyone, just you quietly with you. And he said, I really did this. I took advantage of the first few days of lockdown to lock in honestly to my creation. And I realized I have so many companies. I have been making so much money. I now have more than enough money. And I started to look at my wife and my children and my family in the impact of my absence in their lives while I've been making money, which I wanted to offer them a good life and financial security. But he said, I realized I've been very out of balance. And I realized by just focusing and feeling love for my wife and feeling her love come back, because we do a lot of this, I love you, I love you, I love you, in Darkroom, send it out, let it come back. We've already given you the meditation on this. He said, I realized how consistently loving my family and my wife has been, but not particularly happy with what I've been doing because I've been such an absent father and an absent husband. So now, having realized that with introspection, retrospection, honest analysis, I'm going to go home, I'm going to sell a lot of my companies, and I'm going to start to reformat my life to give my wife and my children, even though they're nearly grown, much more love and attention and come back to balance. He said, I also realized I've had a lot of health problems because I've been out of balance and I've been causing my family unnecessary stress because I haven't been taking care of myself physically and my wife's been worried. So I'm going to go home and not only just give everyone more attention, but I'm going to give myself more self-care, more attention as well. I had another young man And he, in his introspection and retrospection time, using mental energy wisely, which we can all start to do now, he said, I realized that there were so many people in my life who had changed my life so much, who had really had a positive influence in my life. And I'd never said thank you. One woman in particular, he said, she's now left her body, and she changed when I was 17 and I met her. She completely changed my life. And if it wasn't for her, I don't even think I'd be alive now. And he said, so I sat and I just went back into the past and I imagined her before me. And I just sent her, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. And he said, I felt so good. And he said, I realized I have to say thank you more often. I have to give more praise to people in my life who have really influenced my life. So here's 2 exercises in lockdown for you to lock in to a different energy. 1, what now are you feeding yourself with mentally? Are you feeding yourself with binge watching? Yay, Netflix. Well, that can be fun and that can be emotionally interesting. Are you taking time to really go into honest self-assessment of the creation of your life up to this point before lockdown, and then see, once everything settles again, what changes will you make in your life? Are you using mental energy now in a way that is keeping you uplifted emotionally, and therefore you are being a more emotionally supportive presence to your family and your community? We've already seen great evidence of people and this incredible human heart and spirit, with people connecting through balcony songs and entertainment and many, many good things. And many of you are reporting that back to me already, the benefits right now. Wow, share the good news. We have a huge impact on our air levels, pollution levels over China, over Italy, because we're not producing all this pollution so much anymore. But remember, there's not just air pollution, there's mental pollution. So the first thing we ask people in Darkroom and really stress every day is the wise use of mental energy. Are you bringing yourself up? Are you using your time wisely? Or are you indulging in mental thinking and food from what you're watching on television and how you're entertaining yourself in a way that keeps you down and in fear? And we shared about this love-fear impact in the first video on this series. So here we have number 1. So here is your exercises on your wise use of mental energy. We call this also recapitulation. It's a simple exercise we talk about in our book In Resonance. For example, many people use Darkroom or periods like this of lockdown to lock into a higher understanding. Some people, they go right back through their life and they look at their behavior. They look at heavy situations, their contribution to the breakup of a marriage, their contribution to the breakup of a family, their contribution to maybe just breaking up with friends, all sorts of issues. And they go, okay, I've got to be honest with myself here. How was my behavior? Did I really do the best that I could at the time? And everyone, when they look at this, say no. So people carry around guilt. Third story. I was in China and there was a young woman in my gathering. And she was so sad, and she literally came up and she was crying. And it was a break time, and but other people started to gather around as they could feel this very intense energy exchange happening. And she was like, I feel so sad. I feel so guilty. I can't, I just can't move on with my life. And I said, okay, why? What happened? And she said, I was born into a family, and I didn't know at the time that my mother was bipolar. And that had a huge influence on our field. And so all of us, we could not wait to leave home because she was very high emotionally and so clear and beautiful, and everyone loved her. And then she'd drop, and she was very low and devastated and in depression and anger and blame. And she would very swing like this, almost schizophrenic. And she said the toll on the family was so huge. I was always looking after my sisters and brother. When my mother was in the down, she wouldn't cook, she couldn't provide, she wouldn't shop. And I, as the eldest, was the caregiver and the caretaker of the family. So once my brothers and sisters were able to take care of themselves, I really unhooked and started to isolate so that I could pick up the pieces of my own life and form a better life. But when I was 18, 19, my mother really reached out for help from me, and I couldn't give it. I really had to go, no, I cannot go there again. I'm too emotionally fragile. She said within a few months, her mother committed suicide. And from that time, she was in regret, this young woman. And she said, I felt so guilty, and I just haven't been able to let it go. And I still feel so sad because I just should have been different. And I said to her, how old are you now? Because many of our beautiful Asian women, they look so young. I'm not good at guessing their ages. And she said, I'm actually 48. And I said, okay, so from 18 to 48, that's nearly 30 years. Has your dominant energy been in the field of grief? She said, not always, but probably 70, 80% of my time. So I said, okay, first question. Obviously, when you look at it, you feel that you didn't do the best that you could have done at that time for your mother. And she said, no, that's why I feel guilty. So I said, okay, did you do the best that you could according to the consciousness you were carrying at that time? And she said, of course I did. And this is where everybody says, yes, according to the consciousness I had and my awareness, I did the best, but I just had no more energy to give. I was running on empty emotionally, so I couldn't give more. And I said, okay, so do you want this period of your life to continue influencing you in such a negative way for the next 30 years, or are you ready to forgive yourself and to forgive your mother and to forgive everything from the past and just say, I'm so sorry, I did the best I could according to who I was at the time, and to meditate on this? And she did do this. She went into deep meditation. She did visualize her mother in front of her. She did go into this bridge of I love you, I love you. I know now that you did the best you could, but I know now I did the best I could, and I want to forgive you, and I do forgive you, and I also choose to forgive myself. And with this forgiveness, I set you free and I set myself free. And we've done some beautiful forgiveness meditations all around the world with people to help them get free from the influence of the past. So we can use mind mastery. That's another example of mind mastery, because we choose to look at things sometimes in a very limited way, in a limited perspective that really drops our energy. So self-isolation, for those of you living alone, For those of you sharing with family, you can use this in a very beautiful way. But the first thing must be the mastery of the mind. And we talked about this in our second video on the corona influences being healthy despite the corona reality, simply because we have mental viruses, and mental viruses, as we said then, are the guilt, are the blame game, are the always looking for someone to blame because of a situation, whether it's a country or a corporation or whatever. And you can indulge there, as we said, and people do in darkroom. But they find that they can come out of it and go into a very different zone and experience quite quickly when they use mental energy wisely. So the woman who was feeling guilty, she could drop all the guilt and then was free. She felt it leaving her body with this forgiveness exercise, and then choosing to begin again because yesterday is done. We've become wiser from all our experiences, and this is a time of a great new choice of wisdom recalibration about how we want to individually and collectively move forward from here. My other friend, the young man who after 3 days was bored, he said, he realized he could contact his wife. He could go visit his children. That dark room is about freedom. We are not bound by space or time or physicality. This is what we've experienced in dark room. That just because we self-isolate into a room or into a building doesn't mean we can't visit others all around the world in a very powerful way. So while we're on mind mastery, we want to share one more story. I get so many insights in the work that I've been doing with people telling me their stories and what's been happening, and they're so important to share. And this next one is so powerful. And I was told it happened in the Findhorn community. And again, I'm not sure the truth of all this, of all the details of stories, but the message is very, very powerful. And I know our audience are very aware people. Those of you who aren't interested in these realities, you probably stop watching 2 minutes in. I don't know. But I know some of you are always watching right from the beginning of a video to the end, because you know sometimes the really important stuff comes at the end, like in a good book. So many years ago, I was told about people in Siberian mines, people who had been upsetting the status quo and found themselves in the mines in Siberia. And this was some time ago. The people who came into the Siberian mines were treated very poorly. They worked long hours every day mining. They were given very little food, very little sustenance, no real supplies, and they were worked until they dropped dead of exhaustion. So all around in the caves, they had no lighting, they had no good sanitation, nothing. It didn't matter. There were so many people being shipped in as workhorses, as punishment, lockdown, that if people died, they just got rid of the bodies and new ones came in. And there was a group of people, and they noticed more and more of their friends dying, and they were really sad, and they went into heart to prayer. And it was like, oh, we don't want to die here, and we miss our families, and we miss the light, we miss the outside world, and we're not getting food, and we are getting close to the end of our tether. And they just started to pray and meditate and just go, help, 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 in their hearts, really from such a deep place. And I notice when people really are in deep need, that's when the big change comes. And as they went into prayer and daily meditation, and they just started to just also be grateful as well, and say, well, we're still alive. Our comrades aren't, our colleagues aren't, but we're still here now. What can we do to support each other? Was their prayer. And the help. If there is a higher power, help. They reported later to the Findhorn community something incredible. They said one night, this blue being appeared like a shimmering field of blue energy that had a very calming frequency. And it was one of these beings of love coming in, because there are beings of great wisdom and love that do connect with us all in darkroom and in silent stillness when our hearts are ready and we can be still and open. They said this being came in and started to talk to them and taught them how to feed off other energy, the energy of love. And as they did this, they noticed every day they got stronger. This being also taught them how to heal, how to open to this other energy source, this other zone of energy, and to be able to, through hand chakras, through heart chakras, hold the transmission of love, so that the people in their group would feed off this transmission of love and get stronger again, and their body would take what they needed to be healed and made whole again. And they noticed such a change in their energy, their strength, because they were no longer dependent on external feeding or medical supplies. They were in control. The next thing this being taught them was how to build this bridge of love and visit family. And they just all would sit there and send this love to their family. I love you, wife. I love you, children. I don't know where you are, but I'm okay. I love you. I love you. I love you. This love, I love you meditation. And they started to get the feedback of family. Like, I could see my husband sleeping, and they started to watch the wives cooking, maybe struggling. They could see their children growing. And sometimes when their family was still, they could feel the presence of their fathers coming in and take comfort. It was like the wives would say, oh, he's still alive. Great. So they started to know they could transcend time and travel independent of lockdown, because they locked in to something else. Then, for some reason, they managed in their meditation, in their nightly meditation, because they then begin to sit together, they locked into the Findhorn group in the United Kingdom, and they started to share this story of what was going on with the Findhorn group, who I believe wrote a book about this. So you can do some research on this, but that's not the point. You know, some of you will know through experimentation the truth of this, because this is what we've experienced time and time again in our self-imposed isolation, lockdown, lock-in our annual darkroom retreats. So here we have great power. We are not stuck in a building. We are not stuck in isolation. We can go into meditation. We can use the techniques we've shared with you, and more that will come, because we are going to give you a series now of powerful energization techniques so you can transcend time, space, feed yourself differently, and be free. But the point is, number one, are you prepared for honest self-assessment for the creation called your life? And these are 5 things we have everyone look at. Number one, your creation of love in your life, from romantic love, unconditional love, self-love, divine love. Are you happy with what you've created in all those areas? And if not, why not? What can you do differently? Your creation of health, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. Are you at optimum health levels on all these levels in your life? And if not, why not? What can you do differently? Can you get a journal while you're home in isolation? Our guys even write in darkroom in journals, and they're surprised how tidy their writing is. So can you take a week on love, a week on all the aspects of love, and how what you've created and what you could change to make this frequency of love more running at optimum in your life? Then the health, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health. Meditate on that for a week or 2 weeks. Contemplate. Then the next thing is the wealth game. Are you truly wealthy? Not just money, a wealth of vision, a wealth of wisdom, a wealth of friendship, a wealth of understanding, a wealth of richness. What does it mean to you to be truly, truly wealthy? On all levels, not just this, because this whole economic system will be reformatted in our world, and it's going to change so drastically and never be the same again. But we have to look at what true wealth is. We'll talk more about that later. Then the next thing is, what about, so that's 3, your creation regarding love, health, wealth. And the next exercise for you is, what about your relationship with your family and friends? Are you estranged? Are you isolated? What, not just physically, but what can you do to really improve your relationship with all your family and all your friends, if that needs improving? Or are you really happy with your creation? And the 5th one is your life. Are you in passion with life? Do you love life on earth? Or are you, some of you are like, I can't wait to leave this planet. It's crazy. Is it? Or are you just locked into the zone of duality and you don't have the expertise yet to change the frequency to lock in to the zone of paradise on earth, which is here as well? It's a frequency change. So what is your passion? Are you passionate about your life, or are you just chasing the money and doing the busy survival game? So here, mind mastery, the right use of mental energy, the changing of perception, the seeing this as this lockdown, a chance to lock in for honest self-analysis, self-introspection, self-reflection, and to really rewrite the script of your life, so that when social isolation is gone and we're back freely mixing, that's coming too. Okay. You have a different reality to step into, a new reality, a new manifestation that you've thought out well about, and also to ease this lockdown experience by locking into something much greater and much more energizing. So tip number 1, we've already spoken, given stories, but this is just number 1. Now, the next thing is time transcendence and time mastery. We'll talk more in the next video on this.